Have you ever asked yourself, why do I love my child so deeply, and yet feel so hurt because of them? Are our children a blessing, or a karmic debt? Let's turn to the Buddha's teachings to understand this more clearly. There may be no love more profound, and yet more fragile, than the love a parent has for their child. It's an instinctive love, needing no reason, no condition. From the moment your child takes their first breath, your heart is no longer fully your own. And from that moment on, you enter a cycle of deep affection, endless worry, hope, disappointment, and sometimes, silent heartbreak. Why is it that we love our children unconditionally, yet still feel pain because of them? Maybe it's because we don't just offer love, we also project ourselves onto them, our unfulfilled dreams, our hidden expectations, even the wounds from our own past that we haven't healed. Sometimes, we're not just raising a child, we're trying to rewrite our own story through them. In Buddhist teachings, the relationship between parent and child doesn't begin and end in one lifetime. It is part of a long thread of karmic ties stretching across many lives. The Buddha taught that children come into our lives as a result of karma, sometimes as a reward, sometimes as a debt. Sometimes to resolve unfinished emotional business from past lives. A child may come into your life as a blessing, to help you cultivate compassion, patience, generosity. But sometimes, a child appears as a karmic challenge, to awaken lessons that your soul still needs to learn. Whether a blessing or a burden, the point is not to label or judge, it's to awaken. Every relationship in this life is a sacred opportunity to grow, to heal, and to let go. Have you ever felt your heart breaking when your child ignores you, talks back, or pulls away? That pain isn't just about today, it echoes something deeper. It might remind you of being misunderstood as a child, of not being seen, or of past emotional wounds that were never given a voice. In truth, you're not only hurting because of your child, but because your inner child, the part of you that still aches, is being stirred awake. Buddhism doesn't ask us to stop loving. But it does ask us to let go of the attachments we wrap around our love, the control, the expectations, the fear. When you love without clinging, without trying to shape another's future, love becomes a clear stream, free-flowing, healing, and beautiful. Ironically, it is this letting go that deepens connection the most. There's a famous Buddhist story of a grieving mother who had lost her only child. She carried the lifeless body from house to house, begging for someone to bring him back. The Buddha, with deep compassion, told her to bring him a handful of ash from a house where no one had ever died. She searched the village, but found no such house. At last, she realized, loss is part of life, and suffering comes not from love itself, but from trying to cling to what cannot be held forever. Children, like everything else in life, are passing clouds in the vast sky of karma. They come to us, stay for a while, and eventually walk their own path. We cannot keep them beside us forever, nor can we protect them from every hurt. We cannot live their lives for them. But we can be present, with open hands and an open heart. The Buddha taught that true love is not ownership, it's wisdom and compassion. It doesn't bind, it liberates. When you see your child not as a possession, but as a soul on their own journey, you stop trying to control them. You stop blaming yourself. You simply love them, gently, fiercely, and freely. Some children come to teach us how to love without needing anything in return. Some come to test our patience. Some may never become what we hoped, but they teach us the deeper lesson of unconditional acceptance. And when you stop seeing your child as a reflection of your success or failure, and instead as a spiritual being crossing paths with you, you begin to breathe easier. You let go of needing to mold their future. You stop comparing them to others. And in that space, something beautiful unfolds. You start parenting not from fear, but from clarity and grace. As the Buddha said, love rooted in wisdom does not cling, it holds, it nurtures, and it lets go. The pain we feel does not come from love, it comes from the illusion that we can control what is impermanent. Today, you may still cry over your child. But if you turn inward and begin to see with the eyes of mindfulness and compassion, you'll begin to understand, every ache holds a teaching. Every difficulty is a doorway to deeper growth. In time, you will no longer resent karma. You'll stop asking why your child isn't like others. You will realize, your child, no matter how they show up, is a sacred teacher placed in your life not to fulfill your desires, but to awaken your heart. If you're a parent struggling with the complexities of love, pain, and expectation, pause. Turn inward. Breathe. Let the Buddha's wisdom shine light into the shadows. Maybe it's not your child causing your pain. Maybe it's the attachments you've unknowingly placed on them. And if something in this message speaks to your heart, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. You never know, your words may bring healing to someone who's quietly walking the same path. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to continue exploring more of the Buddha's healing insights. Together, let's walk this path of mindful parenting, deep compassion, and awakened love. Children are not possessions, they are karmic connections. In Buddhism, nothing happens by chance. Every encounter, every relationship, whether filled with joy or sorrow, is the result of karma, of causes and conditions sown long before. Among the most powerful and emotionally charged of these relationships is the one between parent and child. Many parents think, my child belongs to me. They are my flesh and blood. I have the right to teach them, guide them, and expect things from them. But this belief, while common, often leads to suffering. When children disobey, we get angry. When they don't meet our expectations, we feel disappointed. When they grow distant, we feel abandoned. All of these emotions come from one fundamental misunderstanding: the idea that our children are our possessions. Through the lens of Dharma, a child is not something you own, nor an extension of your ego. A child is a unique being, with their own karma, their own journey, their own purpose. Even though you may have given birth to them, nurtured them, and poured your heart into their well-being, their presence in your life is not something you created or control. It is the result of karmic ties and past life connections. Perhaps your child was once a friend, an enemy, someone you helped, or someone who harmed you in a past life. Perhaps you owe them a debt, or they owe you. Or maybe you both returned in this life simply to walk together for a while, to love, to learn, to forgive. No relationship is random. Every soul that enters your life carries a spiritual message, even when that message arrives wrapped in pain. When you understand this, your heart becomes lighter. You stop forcing your child to fit a mold. You no longer use their success or failure as a measure of your worth as a parent. You stop being devastated by every mistake or moment of rebellion. Because once you realize that your child is here not because they belong to you, but because of a sacred karmic bond, you begin to relate to them not as a possession, but as a guest, one who has come into your life for a precious and finite time. Some children are a joyful karmic blessing, bringing laughter and ease. Others may bring conflict, challenges, or emotional storms. Either way, their presence carries purpose. They are here to awaken something in you. A conscious parent won't ask, "Why is my child making me suffer?" They will ask, "What is this suffering revealing in me that still needs healing?" An awakened parent won't try to reshape their child to meet personal ideals. They will ask, "What lesson is my child teaching me? How can I grow alongside them?" Because in truth, there is no higher or lower between parent and child. Each is a traveler on the path, each learning, each transforming. Some parents come into this life to learn the art of letting go through the very child they love most. Some return to develop patience, or to experience the kind of unconditional love they themselves never received. Some are here to heal their own wounded inner child through offering love in a way they were once denied. Your child is a karmic mirror. They may not speak it out loud, but their presence reflects you. Their actions, whether joyful or difficult, are opportunities for self-examination. When your child is angry, can you stay calm? When they struggle, can you love without judgment? When they speak words that hurt, do you react or reflect? Seeing your child as a karmic connection allows you to return to yourself, over and over again. You are no longer just raising a child, you are also raising your own heart, your own awareness, your own wisdom. One day, your child will leave you, either physically, emotionally, or both. Not because they don't love you, but because their path is not yours to walk. Each being has their own karma to face, their own lessons to learn, and their own pain to transform. As a parent, you can walk beside them for a time. Offer light along the way, but you cannot shield them from their path. Letting go is not abandonment. Letting go means you release control. It means you understand that real love doesn't cling to form, it flows with trust, with grace. The tighter you hold on, the more your child pulls away. The more gently you hold space, the more they feel safe to return. So instead of asking, how do I make my child listen to me? Ask, how can I grow a heart wide enough to be a refuge for them, no matter where life takes them? Children are karmic connections, not personal property. And like all karmic ties in life, treasure them while they're present, grow from them while they last, and let them go when the time comes. For the greatest form of love is not ownership, it is understanding. Not attachment, it is awareness. Love that liberates, not binds. Love that leaves no karmic trace, only light. The three karmic bonds between parents and children, according to Buddhism: gratitude, resentment, debt and repayment. Every child who enters our life carries a specific karmic role. In everyday life, many believe that children are the sweet fruits of love, a blessing from the heavens. But in Buddhist teachings, the presence of a child is far more than a biological outcome or good fortune. It is the manifestation of karma, the natural unfolding of causes and conditions, ripening from seeds planted in this life or in countless past lives. The Buddha taught that no child comes into your life by accident. Their arrival is part of a karmic unfolding. And every child carries with them a karmic role. They may have come to repay a debt of gratitude, to seek retribution, or to settle a karmic debt, either by paying it or collecting it. 1. A child who comes to repay gratitude. This is the most harmonious karmic relationship, gentle, loving, and joyful. A child who comes to repay a debt of gratitude often shows the following qualities: kind, affectionate, well-behaved from an early age. Brings comfort, ease, and emotional warmth to the household. Their presence feels like a blessing, bringing stability, health, or even prosperity to the family. According to the law of karma, you may have helped this soul in a past life, protected them, sacrificed for them, or guided them in a time of need. And now, they return to your life, taking the form of your child, to honor that karmic debt with love. Parents of such children often feel that life is a little easier, even in difficult times. They find solace in the relationship. The child's presence feels like a peaceful stream, easing the hardships of everyday life. But don't be too quick to assume such relationships last forever. The karmic repayment may be brief. Some children who come to repay gratitude may stay only for a short while, through illness, unexpected loss, or other circumstances. When the debt is repaid and the karmic balance fulfilled, they may leave. That's why it's important to cherish every moment while this karmic blessing is still present. 2. A child who comes to settle a grudge. This is perhaps the most painful and challenging form of karmic relationship. These are the children who come not to bring ease, but to trigger emotional turmoil, force deep reflection, or even to cause suffering. These children may be rebellious, confrontational, or distant. No matter how much love and care the parent gives, connection feels difficult or impossible. Their presence often brings stress, conflict, and emotional wounds within the family dynamic. But these children are not bad. They are manifestations of unresolved karma, often from previous lives. Perhaps in a past life. You harmed this soul, intentionally or unintentionally, and they now return in this life to even the karmic scales. However, Buddhist teachings remind us, karmic retribution is not punishment. It's an opportunity for healing and release. If a parent can meet this difficult dynamic with compassion, patience, and mindfulness, the karmic energy can be transformed. What began as resentment can, through conscious love, evolve into deep understanding and even lasting connection. What matters most is this: do not repay anger with anger. Even if your child hurts you, learn to look beneath their behavior. See the wounded part of them, the unresolved pain. They, too, are suffering. They, too, are lost in their own karmic fog. And it is only unconditional love, paired with wisdom, that can untangle the karmic knot. 3. A child who comes to settle a debt, either repay or collect. This karmic relationship is like a spiritual transaction. Perhaps in the past, you owed this soul something, a promise, a service, a kindness left unfulfilled. Or perhaps they owed you. In this life, they return to balance that karmic ledger. Signs of a child who comes to collect a debt may include ongoing hardship related to the child, illness, disability, addiction, emotional struggle. The parent feels endlessly worried, exhausted, or drained, financially, emotionally, or physically. A sense of sacrifice that feels disproportionate and heavy. This is not punishment, it is a cleansing of karmic residue. If you can face this experience with gratitude, without resentment or self-pity, then every act of care becomes an offering that slowly dissolves the karmic burden. On the other hand, sometimes a child comes to repay a karmic debt to you. You may sense this in their unwavering devotion, or your deep, inexplicable bond. You may feel a willingness to give everything for them, without needing anything in return. These are signs of a karmic gratitude being repaid. Whether you are repaying or receiving, remember, no karmic debt lasts forever. If we approach these ties with awareness and humility, the karmic exchanges dissolve, not in pain, but in peace. Every child that enters your life plays a karmic role. No one arrives by accident. No one shows up in your life without meaning. The child who brings you joy is here to teach you gratitude. The one who brings pain is here to teach you surrender and compassion. In Buddhism, every relationship is a doorway to growth. Parenting is no exception. Release the idea that your child is a reflection of your success, or a product you created. Instead, see them as a sacred traveler, entering your life to reveal something, about love, about pain, about your own heart. Sometimes your child is a benefactor from a past life. Sometimes they are a karmic rival. Sometimes they are your creditor or your debtor. But if you can greet all of them with awareness and kindness, their roles will eventually dissolve. Because in the end, when love is no longer about control, but rooted in deep understanding of karma and impermanence, every child becomes a powerful spiritual teacher. Every moment of parenting becomes part of your path to awakening. When your child hurts you, it's karma arriving to be healed, not to punish. There are moments in life when, despite your deep and unconditional love for your children, your heart aches because of them. A cold look, a disrespectful word, their indifference, or even betrayal, can cut deeper than anything else, not because you hate them, but because your love feels unreturned. But in Buddhist teachings, this pain is not punishment. It's karma ripening so it can be seen, understood, and ultimately released. When karma surfaces, it doesn't come to destroy you. It isn't fueled by vengeance or anger. Karma simply reflects the natural result of seeds we, or our children, have sown, perhaps long ago. Somewhere in the endless flow of lifetimes, you and your child may have shared painful experiences, unresolved bonds, broken trust, or deep vows that were never released. And now, Through the sacred relationship of parent and child, those karmic threads are reappearing, not to punish, but to offer a sacred chance to awaken, to look deeply, and to let go. Love is the root, but not blind attachment. As parents, we often love instinctively, sometimes with attachment or even possession. We may dream of who our children should become, shaping plans for their future. But one day, they choose differently. They speak their truth, resist our path, and suddenly we feel hurt, betrayed. But ask yourself, am I hurt because they made a mistake, or because they didn't follow the life I imagined for them? Is it truly compassion, or is my ego wounded? The Buddha teaches that all suffering stems from attachment. And in parenting, attachment often wears the mask of sacrifice, concern, or protection. But real love doesn't try to own or control. It recognizes that our children do not belong to us. They are simply passing through our lives, just as we once passed through others. They come as guests, as karmic mirrors, and as teachers. Your child is a mirror reflecting your inner world. If you feel pain in your role as a parent, look within. Sometimes your child's behavior reflects something within you that's still unhealed, a fear of being abandoned, impatience, wounds from your own childhood. Or even the way you once treated your own parents. So when your child says something hurtful, disrespects you, or seems distant, pause. Don't just react. Ask yourself, what is this moment revealing about me? Am I being invited to grow in compassion, in patience, in humility? Am I repeating cycles, or breaking free from them? Karma appears to invite transformation. A mindful parent doesn't run from pain, nor do they collapse under the weight of it. They understand, when a child hurts you, it's an invitation for your compassion, patience, and equanimity to deepen. Sometimes, it's the most difficult child, the one who tests every boundary, who becomes the greatest teacher. Because in your suffering, if you can remain still and present, and see through the surface of your child's behavior, you'll often find their own unspoken pain. And it is your grounded presence, not correction or control, that may one day guide them home. Unconditional love is the most powerful practice. The Buddha said, hatred does not cease by hatred, but by love alone is healed. In parenting, that means choosing love even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Even when your child lashes out or withdraws. Staying rooted in love doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're awake. You're transforming karma not with willpower, but with compassion. That kind of love doesn't mean spoiling or tolerating harmful behavior. It means responding, not reacting. Teaching from stillness, not woundedness. Letting go of control and choosing trust. When we stop labeling good or bad, every relationship becomes a path of practice. In Buddhism, there are no good kids or bad kids. There is only cause and effect. And the opportunity to awaken. A child who wounds you emotionally may not be a curse, but a mirror, reflecting something that longs to be healed within you. That pain is not the end, it may be the beginning of your liberation. One parent once said, "Years of meditation taught me less than raising my difficult child. Through her, I learned real patience. The art of letting go, and how to truly see someone with my heart." Letting go doesn't mean giving up, it means loving consciously. True freedom doesn't come from abandoning your child or suppressing your hurt. It comes from seeing clearly that every moment, no matter how painful, is an invitation to surrender control, release expectations, and embrace reality with a quiet heart. You don't need your child to change for you to be at peace. What you need is to release your grip on the future, and love them from a space of presence, not projection. That is love without clinging. That is the door to liberation. Sometimes, the child who brings you the most pain is the one leading you closer to awakening. No one touches your heart the way your child does, so no one can guide you to deeper healing than they can. If you're hurting in your role as a parent, remember, you are not being punished. You are being invited to grow into a more spacious, compassionate, and awakened heart. And that is the healing of karma. Blessing or burden, both are opportunities to awaken. Whether our children bring us joy or suffering, each experience is a mirror helping us understand ourselves more deeply. In life, every parent hopes for obedient, successful, and loving children, ones who bring pride and happiness into the family. When that happens, we feel blessed and often credited to good karma or the merits we've accumulated. But when a child brings pain, rebellion, or constant worry, we may find ourselves asking, "What did I do to deserve this?" But from the Buddhist perspective, life isn't about reward or punishment. Every experience, pleasant or painful, is an opportunity to grow, transform, and deepen our spiritual path. Children are mirrors reflecting our inner world. Children are not just individuals we give birth to, they're souls who arrive in our lives through karmic connections. In many ways, they come not only to be raised, but to help raise our consciousness. When a child brings us joy, we have the chance to cultivate gratitude, love, and humility. When they cause us suffering, that pain becomes a doorway, a call to look within. What are we clinging to? Are we trying to control them? Are we reacting from fear or unhealed wounds? Every emotion that arises is an invitation to self-awareness. Every reaction reveals something hidden within us that may need healing. A happy child is not just a blessing, it's a lesson in gratitude. If your child is kind, respectful, and brings you peace, cherish that. But don't take it for granted or let it feed your ego. Use that good fortune to deepen your gratitude every single day. Practice humility, recognizing this is not about you being better than other parents. Extend compassion to other parents who may be struggling. Because even a blessing can turn into a trap of attachment and pride if we're not mindful. When your child causes you pain, it's not punishment, it's a chance to transform. When your child rebels, disappoints you, or acts out, it doesn't mean you failed. It means something deeper is being called to the surface, an unhealed hurt, a buried expectation, or an old fear. Maybe you were once a child who felt unloved, unseen, or controlled. And now, life is offering a mirror through your child, inviting you to face what you once buried. When a child refuses to listen or walks a path that breaks your heart, pause. Don't rush to judgment. Instead, ask, what am I being asked to let go of? Can I love them even if they're not who I wanted them to be? Can I trust that their path is theirs, not mine to control? This pain, if you stay with it, can soften your heart. It can make you more patient, more understanding, and more awake. There is no pure blessing or pure debt, only the path to awakening. In the eyes of wisdom, blessings and debts are two sides of the same coin. A well-behaved child may lead you to arrogance if you're not mindful. A troubled child may become your greatest teacher in compassion, patience, and unconditional love. Some parents, through their suffering, begin meditating, studying the Dharma, and transforming from within. What appeared to be misfortune becomes the seed of awakening. The tears shed in silence as a parent often water the soil of great compassion. This, too, is grace. The real practice begins with those closest to us. People often think of spiritual practice as something that happens in a temple or retreat center. But for those with families, the truest spiritual ground is in your own home. Children touch the deepest parts of our hearts. They can bring us to the heights of joy and the depths of sorrow. That is precisely why parenting is such a profound spiritual path. In every conversation, there is space for mindfulness. In every argument, there is a chance to pause and breathe. In every moment of helplessness, we can choose love over control. Your child doesn't need you to be perfect. They need you to be present. And in that presence, your own awakening begins to unfold. Love with wisdom is the path to liberation. The Buddha said, compassion without wisdom becomes attachment. wisdom without compassion becomes coldness. As a parent, we are called to develop both. Compassion helps us forgive, empathize, and walk alongside our children. Wisdom helps us release control, honor their journey, and recognize that we cannot, and should not, live their lives for them. When your child makes you happy, let it grow your gratitude. When your child tests your limits, let it deepen your insight. Each moment with your child, joyful or painful, is sacred. It's a place to return to yourself, again and again, with awareness and love. And if you can walk through those moments, not in reaction, but in presence, then whether your child is your blessing or your burden, they become the bridge to your own freedom. Loving without attachment, a deeper kind of love. True love doesn't control, cling, or demand. It lets others be free, even as we hold space for them with compassion. In our human experience, love often begins as a powerful emotion, one that pulls us close, stirs our hearts, and makes us want to protect and care for someone deeply. As parents, partners, or friends, we pour ourselves into those we love, hoping to give them everything they need. But sometimes, without realizing it, love becomes entangled with attachment. We start to expect. We start to control. We start to define our happiness by how others act or respond. But the wisdom of Buddhism offers us a radical reframe. Real love doesn't possess. It liberates. What is love without possession? From a Buddhist perspective, love that clings is not love, it is attachment in disguise. We say, "I love you," but what we often mean is, "I need you to be a certain way so that I feel okay." We say, "I want what's best for you." But sometimes, what we really mean is, "I want you to follow the path I believe is right." This kind of love may feel strong, but it's rooted in fear. Fear of loss. Fear of change. Fear of not being needed. But genuine love arises from freedom, not fear. It allows the other person to be who they truly are, even when that doesn't fit our expectations. It allows us to care deeply without needing to control the outcome. The difference between clinging and caring. Imagine holding a bird in your hands. If you squeeze it tightly, fearing it will fly away, you may harm it, or drive it to flee the moment you loosen your grip. But if you hold it gently, allowing it to rest in your palm, it may choose to stay, not out of force, but from trust. Loving someone isn't about holding them tightly. It's about being a safe place for them to land, and a steady presence when they need support. You can love your child deeply without needing them to meet all your hopes. You can love your partner without trying to mold them into an image. You can love your parents without carrying guilt for the paths you choose. True love isn't silent or cold. It's full of warmth, but it's not heavy with demands. Conditional love versus unconditional presence. We often say we love unconditionally. But what happens when someone we love disappoints us, hurts us, chooses a path we don't understand? If our love turns into anger, rejection, or resentment, it's a sign that conditions were hiding underneath. This doesn't mean we become passive or accept harmful behavior. It means we stop basing our love on whether people meet our expectations. Loving without attachment means we can set healthy boundaries without shutting our hearts. We can express our needs without trying to control the other. We can accept change as a natural part of life. It's not weakness, it's strength born of deep understanding. Why we attach, and how to let go. Why do we cling? Because we fear emptiness. Because we think we can secure happiness through others. Because we confuse love with ownership. The mind says, if I can just make them love me the way I need. If I can keep them from leaving. If I can fix them, they'll finally be okay, and I'll be okay too. But people are not projects. They are not extensions of our identity. They are not here to fulfill the version of happiness we've imagined. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean letting go of love. It means releasing the illusion that our peace depends on another person's behavior. This is where deep spiritual practice begins. The power of mindful love. When we practice mindfulness, we start to notice the tightness in our chest when someone doesn't respond the way we hoped. The subtle urge to fix, rescue, or guide, even when it's not asked for. The craving for reassurance, approval, or control. By simply witnessing these patterns, without judgment, we begin to shift. We stop reacting automatically. We pause before speaking. We hold space for our loved ones and for ourselves. To love is to let be. To love someone truly is to say, I see you. I honor your path. I'm here, not to possess you, but to support your freedom. This kind of love is quiet and steady. It doesn't demand grand gestures. It's the kind of love that remains, through joy and heartbreak, closeness and distance. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. But love itself is not the problem. Love, when infused with wisdom and awareness, is the very path out of suffering. A love that liberates. So ask yourself, can I love without needing to fix? Can I care without clinging? Can I offer space instead of control? This is the love that transforms us. This is the love that teaches us to soften, to open, to release. This is the love that does not bind, it frees. Not because we stopped loving, but because we finally understood what love really is. Raising children with mindfulness, not with expectations. When we let go of expectations, we open space for connection, compassion, and growth, for both the child and the parent. Parenting is one of the most powerful and emotional journeys a human can walk. It brings unmatched joy, but also deep worry. Often, it stirs up our own unhealed parts, our hopes, our insecurities, our regrets. And in the name of doing what's best, we may begin to project our dreams and fears onto our children. We say it's for their future. We say it's because we love them. But when parenting is guided by unconscious expectations rather than mindfulness, it becomes a source of suffering, for both parent and child. The weight of expectations. Expectations are silent pressures. They show up as subtle, or not so subtle, thoughts. My child must succeed. They should be more obedient. They have to make me proud. They shouldn't make mistakes. These ideas may come from love. But often, they come from fear, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough as a parent. And here's the truth. The more we expect our children to fulfill our personal hopes, the less we see them for who they truly are. Instead of connecting with the living being in front of us, we begin relating to an image, an idealized version of who we want them to become. This not only creates distance, it also places a heavy burden on the child's shoulders. Children are not projects. They are human beings. When we forget this, we start treating them like unfinished works that need constant shaping, correcting, and fixing. We might think, if I just guide them enough, they won't make the mistakes I did. If they follow this path, they'll be safe and happy. But children aren't born to live out our scripts. They are born with their own temperament, karma, and purpose. Our role is not to control their destiny, but to nurture the soil where their own nature can flourish. This is the heart of mindful parenting. Less directing. More supporting. Less fixing. More listening. Less forcing. More understanding. The harm expectations can cause. When children grow up feeling like they are only good enough if they meet certain standards, grades, behavior, career paths, they begin to believe that love is conditional. They may hide their true selves to please us, feel constant pressure and anxiety, rebel or withdraw out of shame or resentment. In trying to help them succeed, we may unknowingly teach them to disconnect from their inner voice, and rely solely on outer approval. But what if we raise them not to meet our expectations, but to trust themselves? What if we raise them with awareness, curiosity, and deep presence? Mindful parenting begins with us. Mindfulness doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean we never lose our temper or feel disappointed. It means we stay awake. We observe. We breathe before reacting. It starts with asking, why am I getting angry right now? Is this about my child, or my own unresolved wounds? What expectation am I holding on to? Can I let go of control and simply be with what is? The child may not change immediately, but the energy between you will shift. And in that space, both healing and growth become possible. From controlling to accompanying. In mindfulness, we don't lead with authority. We lead with presence. We walk alongside our children, not several steps ahead, pulling them forward. This means listening more than lecturing, asking questions instead of making assumptions, supporting decisions rather than imposing them, creating safety for them to fail, question, and explore. When we treat our child like a companion on a shared human journey, trust deepens. When we stop fixing and start being with, love becomes unconditional. Letting go of the perfect child. We all carry unconscious images of what our children should be like: kind, successful, respectful, strong. And when they fall short, we feel a pang of pain. But mindfulness invites us to release these images. To see our child as they are, in each moment, not who we want them to be. This doesn't mean we don't guide them. Of course we do. But the guidance comes from clarity, not from fear. From wisdom, not from wounded ego. We can hold values and boundaries without turning them into rigid molds. We can support growth without demanding perfection. Healing generational patterns. Many of our expectations come from our own upbringing. Maybe we were expected to succeed, never show weakness, always be obedient. And now, unconsciously, we pass that pressure on. But it doesn't have to continue. Mindful parenting gives us the chance to break the cycle. We can become the parent we needed when we were young. Someone who listens. Someone who accepts. Someone who loves through failures and flaws. By healing ourselves, we heal the future. Presence is more powerful than pressure. Sometimes, we think being a good parent means always doing more, teaching, correcting, organizing, pushing. But in truth, the most healing gift we can give a child is our undivided attention. To look them in the eyes. To listen without distraction. To sit with them, even in silence. To witness who they are becoming, with curiosity, not control. This presence says, you matter. As you are. It says, I don't need you to be perfect to be worthy of love. The real goal, raising a whole human. Not a high achiever. Not a people pleaser. Not a reflection of your pride. A whole human. With resilience, compassion, authenticity, and trust in themselves. This kind of child doesn't come from control. They grow from being seen, supported, and loved with awareness. So let us not raise children to fulfill our expectations. Let us raise them with mindfulness, so that they learn how to be fully alive, fully themselves, and fully free. The Buddha teaches. Use wisdom and compassion. Teach through your actions, not through scolding. In life, there's hardly a deeper wound for a parent than seeing their own child turn away, disrespectful, indifferent, or even hurtful. But in the light of Buddhist wisdom, such moments are not just painful, they're also invitations to grow. For those walking the path of Dharma, reacting in anger or despair is not the way. Instead, these moments become precious opportunities to cultivate patience, compassion, and deep insight. 1. A disrespectful child, karma or a lesson. According to the law of karma, nothing happens by chance. Every relationship, especially that between parent and child, is shaped by causes and conditions, carried across many lifetimes. A child may come into your life to repay a past kindness, to settle old debts, or to teach you a lesson you didn't expect. When your child hurts you or turns their back on you, it may not be a punishment, but rather a karmic knot returning to be untied. Such moments ask, what karma have I sown that has ripened like this? What expectations am I clinging to that deepen my pain? Am I truly loving my child with wisdom, or with attachment and control? In a strange way, our children mirror us. Their behavior reflects our past actions, unresolved wounds, and the parts of ourselves we have yet to understand. 2. Don't teach through anger, teach through presence. The Buddha said, hatred never ceases by hatred. Only by love is hatred overcome. When a child lashes out or behaves hurtfully, many parents instinctively respond with anger, criticism, or punishment. But this only deepens the wound. The Buddhist path encourages us to pause before reacting, to return to the breath, and to meet the situation with clarity and kindness. Ask yourself, where is this child hurting? Have I truly seen them for who they are? What can I do right now that will bring understanding, not more division? No one changes through blame or shame, but a calm presence, a patient heart, and a steady example of compassion. These things can reach where words cannot. When your child won't listen to your voice, let your actions speak. Let your way of being become the lesson. 3. Don't try to change your child, transform yourself first. Buddhism teaches us that real transformation doesn't come from forcing others to change, it comes from turning inward. A disrespectful child is not your enemy. They're often lost, struggling, or stuck in their own suffering. If you react with anger, you feed the fire. But if you respond with compassion and strength, you plant seeds of awakening. Even if your child remains closed off, your inner work isn't wasted. In fact, it's the most powerful thing you can do. You can't control how they behave, but you can control how you show up. Stay calm when the words hurt. Be kind even when it feels undeserved. Hold steady in your practice, because your peace teaches more than lectures ever could. 4. Let go of the parent role and love more freely. One of the deepest sources of suffering comes from attachment to roles, especially the identity of, I'm the parent, I raised you. You owe me your respect. But everything is impermanent, even the idea of mine. Your child is not your possession. They came through you, but they are not you. When you've done your best, taught with care, loved without condition, and stood in wisdom, it's time to let go of control. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning them. It means dropping the expectations. The ego, the demand that they fulfill a certain image. It's in this space of openness that healing often begins. And even if it doesn't, you remain at peace, knowing you've lived with integrity and compassion. 5. Heal the bond through loving practice. If you truly want to shift the karma between you and your child, turn to spiritual practice, not as a way to fix them, but to clear your own heart. Chant a sutra. Light a candle. Recite the Buddha's name. Hold their image in your heart with love, even if their words still hurt. Because in Buddhism, change begins from within. When your mind becomes clear, loving, and free from resentment, even hardened hearts can soften, perhaps not immediately, but eventually. These quiet moments of practice, done not in anger, but in love, are the purest offerings you can make. You're not giving up. You're simply standing beside them in silence, with a heart that says, I see your pain. I'm still here. 6. Only unconditional love has the power to heal. At the core of Buddhist parenting is this truth. Only love without condition can transform the heart. Not love with control. Not love with expectation. But the kind of love that sees clearly, forgives deeply, and keeps opening, even when it's hard. When a person is loved even in their worst moment, something changes. Slowly, they begin to believe they are worthy of becoming better. As a parent, you have the power to plant that seed. Not through lectures, but by turning your hurt into compassion. By turning your fear into patience. And by living in such a way that your life becomes the teaching. Because in the end, children may not remember what we said, but they will always remember how we made them feel. A story of a mother and her lost son, transforming karma with unconditional love. In a quiet mountain village, nestled between rows of bamboo, stood a small temple. Here, an old Zen master had lived in seclusion for many years, spending his days meditating and tending to a peaceful garden. The villagers respected him deeply, often seeking his guidance when life became too heavy to bear. One day, an elderly woman arrived at the temple. Her face was worn with sorrow, eyes sunken from sleepless nights. She bowed deeply before the master, her voice trembling. "Master, I've devoted my whole life to raising my son. I gave him everything. But now he's gone, lost to addiction, theft, and even violence. He curses me when I try to guide him. I'm broken. What did I do wrong?" The master sat in silence for a long moment before softly asking, "When you plant a tree in your garden, can you control the direction of the wind?" The woman shook her head, confused. "Just like that," he continued, "when you raise a child, you can love, nurture, and guide, but you cannot force them to grow a certain way. Every child carries their own karmic path. Your son is not an extension of your will. He is your mirror, here to teach you something deeper." The mother began to cry, years of silent grief spilling out. Through her tears, she asked, "So what should I do? Abandon him?" The master gently shook his head. "Not abandon, let go. Let go of the idea that you can fix him. Let go of the belief that he must live life your way. Instead, turn inward. Transform your pain into wisdom. When your heart is clear, you'll know how to love without clinging, teach without controlling, give without expecting anything in return." She looked at the master. Something softened in her eyes. A crack of light breaking through her sorrow. "But if I don't intervene, won't he spiral further?" The master smiled. "There are things you can do, like keep your heart open. Continue to love him deeply, and practice compassion every day. But there are also things you cannot do, like walk his path for him. That journey is his alone. Love without attachment, the deepest way to heal." From that day on, the mother began to practice mindfulness. She no longer spent her nights crying in despair. Instead, she chanted softly, sending her son silent prayers. She learned to breathe through fear, to sit quietly when sorrow surged. She didn't search for him anymore. But every evening, she placed a warm bowl of rice on the table, an unspoken message, "I'm still here, when you're ready to come home." Months passed. One stormy night, the son returned. Frail, dirty, avoiding eye contact. But when he saw his mother still quietly cooking, not scolding, not weeping, just saying, "Eat, my son," with kindness, something cracked open inside him. It wasn't that she forgave him. It was that she never stopped loving him. True transformation doesn't come from control, it comes from presence. Their story began to spread, not because the mother was extraordinary or the son changed overnight, but because the healing happened. Without lectures or punishments. It came from mindfulness and unconditional love. Someone once asked the Zen master, "How did that mother change her child?" He replied, "She stopped trying to change him and started simply being there for him." When love is free from control, it becomes the most powerful force of all. Karma isn't a curse, it's a chance to awaken. In Buddhist teachings, nothing is by chance. When a child is born to you, whether they bring joy or pain, they carry karmic ties from the past. But if you're mindful, every moment becomes a chance to transform that karma, not through force, but through deep understanding. No child is truly unfilial. Most are simply unheard, unseen, or misunderstood. Often, the most stubborn children are carrying the deepest wounds. A mother who can let go is not a cold or passive one. She is someone who has seen enough suffering to understand. Real love does not bind, it frees. It teaches without pushing. It waits without demanding. A heart that expands can heal any wound. And perhaps, that is what the Buddha truly meant when he said, "You cannot change another person. But if you transform yourself, the world around you will also begin to change." Children are a karmic bond, a part of our spiritual path. When we truly understand this, our suffering begins to ease, and compassion grows quietly within. There may be no relationship more deeply woven into the fabric of our emotions than that between parent and child. It's a connection that feels sacred, natural, and yet it can be a source of countless hopes, disappointments, and unspoken wounds. We love our children, sometimes with every breath, every ounce of strength we have. But is that love always clear and pure? Or, does it sometimes come with expectations, control, and fear of losing them, fear of being rejected or not needed? From a Buddhist perspective, the bond between parent and child is not just a coincidence, it is the unfolding of karmic connections. Our children don't come into our lives merely to make us happy. They come to teach us, to reflect back the unhealed parts of ourselves, to help us learn how to love without attachment, to forgive without condition, to let go without bitterness. Having a child is not about possession, it's about presence. Each child is a guest in our life, some stay longer, some pass through briefly. But however long they stay, they are part of our path toward awakening. When a child hurts us, instead of reacting with anger or blame, we can pause. We can look inward and ask, what is this pain trying to teach me? Maybe it's not a punishment, but an invitation, a call to return home to ourselves. To examine the expectations we've been holding. To heal the wounds we never addressed from our own childhood. To stop the unconscious patterns that may have been passed down through generations. Only when we're willing to pause and truly face ourselves can the karmic entanglements in these relationships begin to dissolve. And not through scolding or force, but with a heart spacious enough to hold both love and sorrow, both hope and disappointment, both anger and grace. In the Buddhist teachings, it's said, to have parents is to have a great field of merit to cultivate. And to have children is also a field of practice. Each day with your child is a chance to grow, in patience, in loving kindness, in non-attachment. Being a parent isn't just about raising a child's body, it's about cultivating our own heart and mind. Because only when we ourselves live with awareness can we truly offer our children a peaceful foundation to grow from. Even when your child doesn't follow the path you hoped they would, it's still a profound lesson. Do you have enough trust to let go? Enough compassion not to judge? Enough wisdom to realize that happiness doesn't come from them becoming what you imagined, but from your ability to understand and release control? The pain that arises in the parent-child dynamic, if met with mindfulness, can become a doorway to deep insight. And compassion, when forged in the fires of struggle and misunderstanding, becomes a flame that no storm can extinguish. There will come a time when you no longer ask, why is my child hurting me? Instead, you'll begin to ask, what is this pain revealing about myself? That's when the real journey begins. And when you can look at your child, not through the lens of possession, not through the weight of expectation, but with a heart of deep understanding, something shifts. The love becomes lighter. It stops wounding you. Instead, it flows, like a quiet, healing stream, nourishing both you and your child in ways words cannot describe. So remember this. Children are a karmic gift, not for us to hold on to, but for us to learn to release. Not for us to control, but to learn to love without strings. Not to fulfill our happiness, but to show us how to find happiness from within. And perhaps, that is the most sacred spiritual path of all, not one that begins in a temple or meditation hall, but right in your own kitchen. In the sound of a child laughing, crying, or slamming a door. In the silent moments where a parent chooses compassion over control. In every breath where love becomes more about presence than possession. That is the real path, the path of awakening through family, through karma, through love. When we truly understand that our children are part of a karmic connection, not something we own but someone we're meant to learn and grow with, our love begins to shift. It becomes lighter, more spacious, more free. It's no longer tied to expectations, control, or fear. Instead, love starts to feel like sunlight, or a gentle breeze, pure, unconditional, and deeply healing. No child comes into our life by accident. Each one is the result of a profound karmic bond. Perhaps they've come to repay a kindness, to settle a debt, or to help us resolve some unresolved karma from past lives. But above all, they come to help us relearn the greatest lesson, how to love without attachment, and how to let go without resentment. Children are not here to fulfill our dreams, live the life we never had, or meet the standards we set for them. They are their own beings, on their own spiritual path. And often, they mirror back to us what we most need to see, our fears, our clinging, our unspoken wounds, and, if we are willing, our capacity for unconditional love. Sometimes, our children may cause us pain. But within that pain lies the opportunity to pause and ask ourselves, why does this hurt so much? And if we look closely, we'll see, it's not truly because of them. The suffering often comes from our own attachments, expectations, and ideas of what being a parent should look like. If we can loosen our grip on our own ego, if we can see that our children are not extensions of us but fellow travelers on this journey, then our love becomes more real. It no longer needs to control or possess. It just needs to be present. Each child is a teacher of patience, a teacher of compassion, and perhaps most powerfully, a teacher of letting go. When a child acts in a way that challenges us or moves away from the life we imagined for them, it is often our best chance to grow. Not by changing them, but by changing ourselves. By learning to love more openly. By surrendering our need to be right. By trusting the deeper wisdom of life. If you've ever cried because of something your child said. If you've ever sat in silence, not knowing what to do as a parent. Or if you've ever caught a glimpse of awakening through the struggle, then you've already begun to walk this sacred path. And maybe, just maybe, your story can light the way for someone else who's feeling lost in the fog of parenting. Let us keep walking together, on this path of understanding, love, and mindful living. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.